Yeah, these works for a long time coming. I'll point them out a bit. Yeah. So these are screen prints, and these are photograph based underneath, so digital inkjet prints, and then screen printed on top. But I did it in such a way that the print and then the ink on top contrast, so you kind of have this interesting effect as you walk by it, and it sort of shimmers, and that's sort of the effect that I was hoping to get with these prints, was that you can get something different from looking at it at different distances. So this close you might see fine detail, but then at a further distance you'll get something different out of the work.
Dealing with the formal aspects. I think that's one of the strengths of the painting department, is that it really forces you to focus on the formal aspects of your work. It's really easy for like artists in art school to get tied up with concept. It's the most important thing is to make something that is working visually. I feel like I can walk into this painting.
I like how alive it is. Like you can imagine what those two guys are laughing and giggling to themselves about, and you can imagine the state of mind this guy's in just by the emotion on his face.
But formally, I really like that some parts of it are well defined, like the faces and even the hands to some degree. But that's like 4 brush strokes, and everyone knows that's a bit lighter.
Yeah.
And to me, that's amazing. I like painting, but it's not my thing really. But to me, that's so cool that someone could take 4 or 5 little pieces and make it a bit lighter, and everyone knows.
And like you can tell this is a face on his shirt.
Yeah.
And I think I know that brand.
Yeah. Holly's work talks a lot about urban spaces and decay of those urban spaces. So she actually won a grant to go to, it was Detroit, right?
Yeah.
She went to Detroit and she took a bunch of photographs, and that was her sort of source material for this body of work. It was all these decaying spaces, forgotten sort of factories and things like that. And so then she started incorporating the figure into these works, and they're very abstracted, but you can tell that there are figures in these spaces, but the way she's done it is very delicate, and it doesn't sort of, it's not too illustrative, it sort of leaves things open to your interpretation a bit, but
Terry was strictly in sculpture, and she has another work upstairs as well, which she had done previous to this one, and she wanted to really work with relief and kind of master the technique of relief. And then these people are actual people that are dealing with the research and overseeing the projects. So she's actually taken photographs of these people and recreated them in these reliefs. And it's actually quite amazing how rendered they are. You can.
So I created these pieces through different projections of landscapes, and I projected them into different spaces and onto different objects to create a new sort of synthetic space, and a space that everyone can relate to differently. When you look at these spaces, you don't necessarily know where they are, and no one would be able to pinpoint like what is it exactly, how did I make this, and that's kind of my point.
I think in this department we're really encouraged to work large because work functions differently at a larger scale than at a smaller scale. But for Ellen's works, it made so much more sense to have them be small and intimate, just like these sort of nests, which are also kind of small and precious. And that way you also have to go very close to them to see a lot of the detail.